I'm Mr. Eagle, bro. Most consecutive games played as an Eagle. Longest tenured athlete in the state. America's Got Talent fans are loving me.
Yeah.
The Magic Man. People are wearing my jersey as a long snapper.
Most tenured athlete in the state.
In the state.
A PA, baby. Come on, man.
That's so detailed.
Oh, let's go.
So
Very detailed.
You know what?
He's been asked that question before, so he knew how to answer it.
All of a sudden, I'm on panels with like Hall of Famers. I got to have something to be like, okay, what can I say? Hey, guys,
in the state. I love it.
How many people, every sport in the state? No? Anybody? No? Okay, quiet down.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Peanut Tillman, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. I got my guy Romer Harper with me today. We acting like it's the first of the month. We got that juice. What's up, baby?
What's up, y'all? I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Why do you look so shocked right now? I had dinner. Excuse me. I had lunch. I'm ready. We got a good we got a good guest right now. I'm feeling really good about this next guest we having right now.
Yeah, me too. I just thought you were a little loud and I couldn't hear for a second. So now I'm here, my equilibrium's back, and I'm ready to get this thing going. But first and foremost, let's talk about our viewers and all of our listeners out there, wherever you pick up your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio podcasts. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Make sure this time you give us 5-star rating as always. Give us a review, a like. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit follow and continue to comment about what we're doing here. Peanut, who is our guest today? Our beautiful, lively guest today.
He is lively. NFL Pro 14-year career vet, 2 Pro Bowls, Super Bowl champion, world-class magician. I think he might be Bone Thugs and Harmony's #1 fan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jon Dorenbos to the show.
Oh, man, it is
Welcome
cool to be
the
here.
Show.
Thank you. 2 legends right here,
Gotta
man.
get that money, man.
You know what?
Money,
I told him before the show started, I'm a huge Bone Thugs fan, so we've been getting at it right now.
Yeah. Who'd you say your favorite?
Crazy.
Crazy?
Okay. But then you got Lazy coming in with that high, Busy. You got to like Busy. Powder P made his debut on there on the old Ghetto Cowboy.
Yeah.
But, Crazy, man. I'm a crazy fan till the day I die.
And he definitely rapped a lot.
He was in here like Bunny Rabbit on 8 Mile, rapping all the songs, just to let y'all know.
Oh, hold on. I thought you meant like Crazy was here because you're like, oh, he was here. I'm like, wait a minute. He's here.
Now he's actually looking around. No, he's definitely not here right now. He is definitely not here. So where are you living at right now?
Hey, so I live. So right now we're in LA. I live like hour and 10 minutes south. I live in Huntington Beach, California, and so junior high, I moved down to Garden Grove, which was about 20 minutes inland. And I'll never forget, 13, 14 years old, they're like, yo, 30 minutes down that road, you're going to hit the beach. So I get on my bike, start pedaling. 4 hours later, man, I still ain't at the beach. It was like a 30-minute drive, right? And so long story short, I got to the beach as a kid, and these gates opened. It was nice. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, this gated community on a golf course. I'm like, what? So I would sneak into this place for like 20 years.
Yeah.
When I could afford to move there, man, I would go by this house every day. And we live in that house.
There it is.
That's what's up.
Man, I Jim Carrey said it best. He goes, I can manifest things like no other. I believe in it. If you believe in it, you believe in yourself, crazy things can happen. So I went by this house forever, and your mind will energy will find a way.
Yeah.
Right? So be careful the way you talk to yourself, because man, it makes a big difference.
I need to keep reminding myself that when I'm golfing, because I'm like, I suck. And that's the same energy I'm manifesting.
That's true,
when
man.
I'm out there. I need to be more positive talk, self-talk.
Do you really suck at golf, though?
Sometimes. It's bad.
Man, I don't play a lot. I gave these kids my golf clubs. He was our neighbor, and I was like, yeah, just take them. But if I go out there for 2 holes, you're going to be like, this dude's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then when I hit hole 3, it is down fast. I mean, it is like, this guy's never played a hole in his life.
How are you enjoying fatherhood? You have a young daughter, Amaya Love.
Oh, man, greatest thing in the world. So, look, I'm sure we'll get into my story later, but I kind of went years and years without a dad, or I had a dad figure.
Yeah.
But it's not your dad, right? And I appreciate the role models I had in life. So I realized that you can either be this much better than where you come from, or you can make an excuse. And with my background, the world probably would have made an excuse. Oh, if you would have seen where he came from, what he went through, that's why he's a deadbeat dad, and they would have made an excuse for me. But instead, I wanted to be this much better than where I came from. And so when we had our little girl, man, it was my chance to be the dad I never had.
Yeah.
And that was the only attitude I took, is I'm going to be everything I didn't have to make this world a better place for her and hopefully my wife and myself. And so there is nothing better that I enjoy more than being a dad to my little girl.
Man, that's awesome. I saw on a YouTube video that you took video of your wife. And I think the quote you said was, it was the sexiest thing you'd ever seen.
Man.
Watching your wife all of a sudden like transform into this like mother literally within seconds.
Dude, it was the William Wallace version of a chick, dude. So like, okay, we played.
Yeah.
So we've been there. I don't care what position you play, 100% injury rate, you have your aches and pains. You look in the locker room and you know the war dog and you know the guy that's going to just take a day off, right? So I'd never seen her in that moment. Like, I know the pain threshold I have and that I can push through. I ain't never seen her in that moment.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's go time. Ain't no coming back, baby. You know, and so when we went into the hospital, 41 weeks pregnant, kid was over 9 pounds, and she was 0 centimeters dilated. So they induced her with the balloon and all this stuff. And she's like, I'm doing this. I'm not having a C-section. And, dude, she just went
41 weeks 0.
41 weeks 0. Okay, so
we're starting from ground
zero. And they're like, hey, we're either going to C-section this thing or you got to pop this thing out. So
yeah.
Long story short, it was the sexiest thing ever when she delivered our kid. And I was, the kid kind of popped out. I was right there. It was so sick, dude. Savage. So we take her out and my wife gets her and she whispered to herself, she said, I did it. And she just said it to herself. That right there, man. I looked at her and I said, I'm going to tell you right now, honey, this is the sexiest you'll probably ever be. So this is unbelievable. I'm just taking this in, man.
That's
cool.
awesome.
It was cool.
That's awesome. So 2017, your coach, or excuse me, the Eagles, they call you up and they say you're going to get traded to the Saints, right?
Yeah, which is crazy for so many reasons.
Yeah, crazy for so many reasons. But I think it's kind of crazy, too, because you're getting traded for a draft pick.
And I'm a what? Tell me.
The long snapper.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me.
Snapper.
You know what I mean?
So,
and I wasn't even drafted coming out of college. So whatever team this was, thought I was worth more 15 years later than I was in my prime as a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. Let's go.
Yeah. So you get there, and I think normally when you go to a new team, you get your physical first, and then you play in games and so on and so forth. You end up playing in a game, and then the next day you have to have a physical, and then you find out you have a leaky valve in your heart, and you have to have surgery. My question is, are you mad that you still played the game?
Okay, this is a lot of great questions. So here's what happens. So they say they're going to trade me.
Right.
In my mind, I'm Mr. Eagle, bro. Most consecutive games played as an Eagle, longest tenured athlete in the state. America's Got Talent fans are loving me.
Yeah.
The Magic Man. People are wearing my jersey as a long snapper.
Most tenured athlete in the state.
A PA, baby. Come on, man.
That's so detailed.
Oh, let's go.
So
very detailed.
You know what?
He's been asked that question before, so he knew how to answer it.
All of a sudden, I'm on panels with like Hall of Famers. I got to have something to be like, okay, what can I say? Hey, guys,
in the state, I love it.
How many people, every sport in the state? No, anybody? No? Okay, quiet down. No, so they say they're going to trade me, and at first I got a little bitter and angry, and I'm like, whatever, dude. When I was a kid, I went through intense therapy, and I there's 3 rules I live by.
Yeah,
and they're very simple, and I try and take them with me everywhere I go. Come to terms with your reality. Mm-hmm. It don't matter whether you agree with it or not. It's happening. So the sooner you can come to terms with your reality, then the sooner you can find forgiveness in people and in the world. Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, it just frees bitterness and anger from your mind.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, when you can find forgiveness, you can forgive. If a little piece of hope or happiness floats by you, you can grab that puppy and never let go. So when I first heard the news, I got bitter and angry, and then I realized this is happening, so just embrace it.
Yep.
Come to terms with your reality. And then I realized that, hey, this is a new chance, new fan base, and I kind of instantly felt younger. It was almost like I'd been there a long time, and I had to go reprove myself.
Yeah.
Right? So I felt really good. So I got traded right before a game. Doctors were out of town, got to New Orleans, which, by the way, like you said earlier, to be a long snapper and to be traded for a draft pick. Put me in the record books, baby.
Yeah.
Come on, that don't happen too often, right?
No, it doesn't.
Breaking records. So I got to New Orleans. I played in the game, and then the next day I did my physical. And they do the stethoscope, and I never knew why they do it. And then they do it on your back. Well, one is for the lungs, one is for the back. And so they heard what's called a murmur. Now, look, I had heard all these terms as a kid and as you grew up, but let me tell you, man, I know a lot about the heart now. A murmur is a leakage of blood. And so when they take the stethoscope on your heart, they're listening for a drum. It's like boom, 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 boom. Well, if there's a squish sound, that's a murmur, and it's a leakage of blood. Where that squish sound is determines how severe it is. So if it's boom, 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 or it's boom, boom, or it's boom, 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 right? So that's it all.
It's a difference.
It's a difference. And it means that blood's leaking in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got a leaky blood, or you got leaky, you got a murmur.
How was yours? What did yours
not in a good place.
What
the doctor
looked.
Like? You know what?
Which one of those was it?
Man.
Or do we not know?
You're the first dude to ask me that question.
Because I want to know.
I don't know, but I know it wasn't good.
It was a bad one.
It was a bad one.
Okay.
It was a bad one. So go to the hospital, do my tests, and then all of a sudden I got a call that's like, hey, man, We knew you had a murmur, but we weren't expecting this. You got a 6-centimeter aneurysm in your ascending aorta. There's actors, John Ritter, Alan Thicke, Bill Paxton, they all died of this condition. So what my real issue is where the vein or the aorta goes into the heart where the blood leaves. So the blood comes in the lungs and then it leaves out the heart. That should be about the size of a dime or a nickel. Mine had blown up like a water balloon and it was bigger than a soda can. So it's like looking at a vein in your arm and there's like 1 inch right here that's bigger than a soda can.
Right. Okay.
If that vein or aorta pops, lights out. So for it to grow a tenth of a centimeter, a tenth of a millimeter could take years and years. So I was born with a congenital heart defect. I had what's called a bicuspid valve, which means normally you have 3 doors that open inside. I had 2. And then eventually it was just deteriorating. It looked like Swiss cheese. And then one of the doors would fall into the heart. So as my blood was leaving the heart, it was falling back into the heart.
Right.
Now, where that gets crazy is that the brain needs 5 quarts of blood a minute. And your heart can actually calculate that. So think about this. You guys are athletes. My resting heart rate was like 80, 90.
That's
like
high.
that's crazy high.
Yeah.
Crazy high. I had a little frustration. We were trying to implement this sports science in the organization. There was an individual there that was kind of in charge of this area. And he was telling me I'm an alcoholic and I don't sleep. And I'm like, yo, dude, I'm telling you right now, I barely drink and I sleep better than anybody. Like I'm out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole time I had a valve and an aneurysm problem. So
did you know you were born with a heart defect?
No.
Or you figured all this out in 2017?
I figured all that out when I went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
It all hit me. And so
Had you not had
But had you
EKGs,
not-
like how?
Yeah.
Okay,
How
this is
did
interesting.
all that pass in Philly?
Yeah, this is
Come on, Philly.
Well,
God
no,
dang.
it's not really Philly and Tennessee and Buffalo and UTEP
Yeah.
and every doctor's appointment I've been to, right? Unfortunately, you can't detect that without an echocardiogram. So an EKG is like beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
It's not showing blood. It's not showing leakage of valves. It's not showing a picture of your heart, right?
Mhm.
So you need to have an echocardiogram, and no team I've ever played on, they don't do that. And so the other thing too, which you guys might have witnessed this, and I'm not talking bad about the process, but it's also the mentality of a lot of teams I played on as far as players. When it was time to do your physical, you just want to go home.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. Rookies get in the back of the line, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna get out.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Right? And we've all lived it, and that's just kind of the way it is. Because
'Cause
we're all healthy. We're superhuman, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless you're the 1%er. So they found out I had that condition. I got a call, and they were basically like, yo, man, and here's the other thing. I had a 3-year extension for more money, millions and millions and millions, right? Highest paid snapper in the league, right? I'm Pops. I wanted to be the oldest guy on the team. My goal when I first got in the league is I wanted to be one of the oldest guys on the team.
Yeah.
Because that means I had the most opportunities, the most friendships, the most experiences. And so I was. And, when they said, look, dude, you're going to be in emergency open heart surgery in 48 hours. It was a non-football related injury, which means contract null and void. You're not going to make any money and your career's over. And I was like, what? And I got bitter and angry. And then you start reflecting, come to terms with your reality, find forgiveness in the world, and create your own story. The surgery was 15 and a half hours. I spent 35 days in the hospital post-surgery. And it was a long time. And then I was on 21 pills for almost a year. Let me tell you, man, open heart surgery is gnarly. The recovery is gnarly. You get frustrated. You get angry. You're super cold. It's just it was a world I hadn't been in.
Yeah.
You're having an identity crisis for other reasons than going from an athlete to something else. Now you're reevaluating life, bro. And so heart surgery ended up ending my career.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to say this because nothing but love to Sean Payton. I was only there a few days.
Yeah.
Okay. And 2 really cool stories. Brad Banta was a special teams coach.
Okay.
I tore my ACL in 2003 in Buffalo.
Yep. Yeah.
And they brought in Brad Banta to back up snap for the last few games. Banta wanted 10 years. He had 9. And so he was home all season, didn't get a call. And when I got hurt, they called him. He got 3 games. He got his 10 years. So it was really cool. I wanted 15. That's what I wanted. So I got to New Orleans, and Brad Banta's a special teams coach. Dorenbos, I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, hey, man, you gave me 10. I'm going to give you 15. And I just was like, it's kind of life come full circle. You know?
Yeah.
So a year later, I go to the Eagles New Orleans game in New Orleans. I'm in the tunnel hanging out. Obviously, Eagles, they hook it up. New Orleans, cool.
Of course.
And Sean Payton sees me. Dorenbos, what's up, man? I go, hey, what's up, coach? He goes, you want to play? I said, what? He goes, do you want to play? If you want to play, it's yours. And I just looked at him. And here's what's really cool. He knew I'd say no. That was never the issue. But the fact he said that to me
Yeah.
It was the closure that I needed, that I almost feel like I got to leave the game on my terms.
Yeah.
Like it shifted the whole romantic world of football and athlete and coming to a closure. And I looked at him, I said, you know what, coach? I'm good, man. He gave me a hug and he goes, let me know. And he just kind of like, he disappeared like Shoeless Joe in Field of Dreams in the tunnel. You know what I mean? But so,
I like
Sean,
that.
appreciate you. And that was a really cool moment.
Shout out to Coach Payton.
Shout out
Yeah,
to Coach
man.
Payton.
It was cool.
That's real cool.
Yeah.
I'd never known that. But just to share a little bit, so my daughter, she had a heart transplant and she had open heart surgery. She had about an 8-9 hour surgery.
How old?
She was about 6 months.
Wow. That's
She was
scary.
About
dude.
6 months. And the thing that I'll say is, it might have taken you a year and all that. Kids are resilient. Kids are extremely resilient. Adults, we're so weak when it comes to stuff like that, where we cry and moan and complain. Babies, kids, toddlers, you think that they're hurt, which they are, but the way they recover from surgery, open heart surgery, you don't think a 2-month-old, a 6-month-old, a toddler, she bounced back so quick. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, are you serious? Like, this is gonna put her out for a while. Like, no, just bounce back. Yeah, the meds and everything. She was on all that. But the way kids bounce back from open heart surgeries and things like that, oh man.
What was her condition?
Dilated cardiomyopathy.
Yeah, man.
So her heart, your heart's about the size of your fist. Her heart was probably 3 times the size of that. She had like an adult sized heart when she was about 3 months old. And her resting heartbeat was 220.
What?
Which kids are normally run a little high, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, her resting heartbeat was 220. When I'm holding her and she's just kind of like looking at me. She's just kind of just sitting there, just chilling, not doing nothing. And her heartbeat is like,
That's like 4 a second.
Yeah,
Just under 4 a second.
yeah.
Like,
It was pretty.
That's crazy.
Wow.
I want to know how much, because like once you're affected by something, you'll become an advocate for it.
Yeah.
And so, how much studying and how much knowledge have you learned about the heart since your condition?
it's amazing how my whole life learning's been very hard for me. I'm a very slow learner, and reading comprehension very, very slow. My sister, on the other hand, is a neurologist and an absolute genius, like perfect SAT scores, works at Creighton University in Omaha. And my sister has a beautiful way of taking very complex subjects and dumbifying them for people like me, right? So she's like, John, it's like a balloon and this, da, 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 da. And I'm like, I get it. So I got helium and then this and then the kid pop. Okay, good. We're good.
Is that how she broke it all down?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And
She should be.
she's
my
drawing.
sister.
Yeah, she's drawing pictures like the heart was actually a heart. It was like literally pretend I'm 5 and she's explaining and I nailed it. But it's amazing, like you said, that when it all of a sudden pertains to you, man, you learn real quick and you understand real quick.
Yeah.
And you understand real quick. It's like your brain just goes,
Yeah.
It's like Will Ferrell in Old School. You know,
Just adapt.
you adapt, man. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. I'm it's one of those things though that I'm thankful that it happened to me. I'm glad it was me. And I'm glad that I lived this experience. Would I have liked to have played longer? Of course. You asked me if I was upset when I heard the news. So I ended up going back to Philly because the number one guy in the world that does the surgery that I needed was a guy named Joseph Bavaria. And I show up and I meet him and he's back in Philly. I still got my condo there. So we're home. It's good. And he goes, you know what, you should be thankful. And I go, why is that? He goes, because if they would have caught this earlier and you might have got 3, 4, 5 years less. But the reality is you're alive and we're going to fix it. So if anything, be very thankful that it went undetected because you snuck a few more years out. And now look, you're 38, 39, like really, probably a time you would have retired anyways. And now, hey, you're in the speaking business, entertainment business. Like if anything, this is a nice little media hit for you. You know, and he cracked a joke and I'm like, hey, you know what? Boom. I like the way you think. So yeah, I wasn't angry at anybody, man. I think things happen. And I think, he did ask me 2 very interesting questions. He says, one, did you have any of the side effects? Like, did you have a side effect for this condition? Well, I don't know. Well, what's a side effect? He goes, were you ever out of breath? I'm sorry, out of breath? Have you seen me compared to the dudes I'm running with? I've been out of breath for 25 years, bro. You know what I mean? He goes, okay. Does your back hurt? Does my back hurt? Have you seen what I've been doing? My back's been hurting for 25 years.
Right.
But interesting, I was getting 6 massages a week. Your middle back muscles, right here, middle of the back on the sides. That's called your quadratus lumborum.
The QO.
QO, baby. Let me tell you this. Pre-heart surgery, do you see that little lingo right there? You see him throw that out? Pre-heart surgery, would have never known that. Now, got the QO, okay? If that's hurting a lot and you can't really get rid of it and it's constantly aching, it's heart. It ain't your back, it's your heart. So I'm sitting here getting massages thinking my back, whole time, heart. So I kind of learned all these different side effects on how your body reacts. Oh, if this is going on, it's your heart. What?
Yeah, I knew none of
Crazy.
that. So despite your heart problem, that ended your career, you lost both your parents at the age of 12, unfortunately. You foster care, your family steps in, takes care of you. All these things have been really, really hard. But there's something about you that you have this unrelenting optimism in life. Where does that come from? Like, how did you develop that, especially after losing both of your parents and kind
Yeah.
of going through what you went through? And I wrote down your three things, but is that real? Like, how did you develop this?
So when I was I had some heroes growing up, man. My mom, my dad were my heroes for a different reason.
Mhm.
You know, my dad coached my teams, president of Little League. I want to be just like him. I was a huge Seattle Mariners fan because we lived in Seattle.
Of course.
Right.
So my dad would pull the car up if he was late from work. We lived on a little hill of the driveway, and he'd turn the lights on and he'd throw me a fly ball like Griffey, and I'd have to block the car light like he would in the Kingdom. You know what I mean, I was a big Griffey fan, and I wanted to be just like him. My mom, I had like I said, my reading comprehension and my brain's like, zzz. So she kind of volunteered and she started this reading program at my elementary school, and it kind of helped kids like me
Mhm.
learn. And so the cool kids start to like my mom because they're, zzz, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what I learned from both, and really what I learned from my mom over time was the reasons you're different and the reasons that you feel insecure at times, especially when you're a young kid.
Mhm.
That might be the reason why you're beautiful. That might be the reason why the world needs you. And that might be the reason why you're here. So just take a deep breath and let the world catch up to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And embrace your difference. So when I was 12 years old, I went home and my father murdered my mother out of nowhere. He used a bench grinder and a sledgehammer
Mhm.
and hit her a lot. And so
Mm.
he turned himself in the next day. At the time in Washington, first degree murder, which the difference between first degree is I wrote it down, I planned it, I hired a hitman.
Premeditated.
Premeditated,
Mhm.
right? Um, first degree murder was life, or I think the death penalty. Second degree murder, which is we can't really plan it. There was an argument. Doesn't matter the motive. Things happen. Max penalty was 13 years, 8 months. So I think my dad, I don't know, but my guess is that night he might have thought about trying to get away with it, figured out I could either get life or death or 13-8, you know? So turned himself in the next day. He got 13-8, which when you're a kid is like forever.
Yeah.
And that seems like forever. And since I went home, I had to testify against my dad. And then we went into temporary foster care for about 8, 9, 10 months. And my sister finished junior high. I finished elementary school. And we went through the most intense therapy you could possibly imagine. And
I can't imagine.
I can't.
it was
yeah.
super intense. And, you know, from going in the garage where everything happened and writing the letter to my mom to viewing the autopsy photos in a private session at the DA's office, which if you don't know what an autopsy photo is, it's for the listeners, it's they basically take pictures of a body and they try and figure out all the injuries and then what caused the death,
Mhm.
right? So now you're looking at your mom in a way you'd never ever want to see anybody.
How old are you at this time?
12.
12. Okay.
And you're old enough to fully understand, but you're also old enough to not realize the direction you need to go. So the people that are taking you on that journey ultimately are going to be the ones to either thank or not thank on how I end up, right?
Yeah.
My therapist was amazing. My grandparents on my mom's side, my aunt who ended up taking my sister and I in. So we do all this stuff over those 10 months. And I knew after we left the foster care, temporary foster care family in Seattle, and we moved down to Southern California with my aunt, which is right down here in Garden Grove, who was my mom's sister. I knew that I wanted my name to be a headline. You know, I wanted it to be a jersey. I wanted it to be something that people could be proud of.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be the headline that my dad had. I didn't want
Yeah.
people to think of my last name and think of that. I wanted them to think of something great. And I was kind of an old soul because of the therapy that I kind of went through, and I just knew I wanted better. And I knew that there was one picture of my mom that I saw, and I'll never forget it. And it was her left hand, and it had 11 cuts, 11 bruises, and they said this was her protecting herself
Defensive.
on the way down.
Yeah.
And I got a wife now and a kid. And I think of that picture every day because I think about she was protecting everything she loved to the end.
Yeah.
And I gotta find motivation in defeat. I gotta find something to take a story and grab hold of something. I gotta come to terms with my reality, find forgiveness and find hope and happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I took from that picture is be that.
Yeah.
To the very end, protect everything you love with everything you got. And that's what I've tried to do. Protect my family, my friends, myself, who I am in this world, um, who I can be for my daughter. And you're right. I'm an optimist. I want to live life because I've been to hell and I don't want to go back. And I am the happiest dude I've ever met, bro.
No,
I hear it.
I mean, yeah, you should. I wish we'd had the cameras rolling when he first walked in here. It was yelling. He had his boy on FaceTime.
Yeah.
We was going down in here.
Good vibe.
It was great vibes.
So every day, no matter what, and look, all these people are on social.
Mhm.
I like them. You know what I mean? Goggins, Jocko, they all got their. But before I get like hype like that, every day when I wake up, I get up, I look outside, and I just say it's a great day to be alive.
Yeah.
That's it. I just give appreciation for the day, no matter how bad the day yesterday was, or this day might be. At the end of the day, hey man, it's a great day to be alive because I know people that aren't.
Yeah.
So it's a great day to be right here. Life is magic. It's a great day to be alive, baby.
That's
I wear it every day. I see it. I feel it.
I'm buying that hat.
Man, come on, baby.
like
I just
that.
came out with these. This is a prototype
I like
right
that.
here. You know what I mean?
like that.
I'll mail you whatever you want. I got all kinds of them coming.
I like that.
But it's
I
a great
like
day to
that.
be alive. And so I try and just look, life's hard for everybody.
It is.
I don't care who you are. And what I've learned is it don't matter how much money you got, your race, your religion, where you're from, all our differences. We can get rid of all our differences and just realize that everybody in this world knows what it's like to struggle.
Mhm.
We all know what it's like to just feel like we're drowning, and I just need a second to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Right. And what I've dissected in life is that the difference between people is that moment right there. That's the only difference. How quick it takes to stand up and live in vision, or how long do you stay down and live in circumstance? That's what separates people. That's it. And so I try and be that guy that's going to stand up, live in vision. Moments in time will never ever define me. They're going to refine me. And I have these little hitters, right? These little quotes that I live by, and I try and live by it. And so, but no matter what, man, it's a great day to be alive. Just start with that, bro, and just see where your life takes you.
Yeah. So I know your dad, he's gotten out of prison.
Yeah.
And I know you've met up with him, right?
Yep.
And you forgave him. Now, how hard was that? How
Man,
explain that process.
that was a very intense day.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, I got a buddy named Riley Smith. He was in a movie called Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
and Harris.
Great movie.
Great
Yeah.
movie. So he was number 3 on the call sheet. He was Johnny, the white kid basketball player that would kind of make fun of.
Yeah, he was kind of the mean kid.
Yeah, he was the mean kid. He was the bully.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yo, man, this dude doing this movie, his name's Mike Tolan. He's really cool. Diehard Eagles fan. We got to do a movie on your life, bro. And he's got to be the one to do it. And this was a long time ago. So long story short, I'm with the Eagles a long time. Mike's an Eagles fan. Mike Tolan. He did The Last Dance. Did you guys see Stand?
Yeah.
Oh, he did Stand. So he does a lot of documentaries, done a lot of movies. So long story short, he's the only name I had on my little vision board. So if everybody's going to make a movie about me, it's going to be Tolan.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he hit me up and says, hey, you ever writing a book? I go, no, I'm trying. But he goes, all right, I got a guy. He'll do the interviews, Larry Platt. I'll option the book, and I'd like to make a movie about your life. And I was like, okay, that's pretty easy.
I mean, that was way easy.
We write the book, right? And then all of a sudden I'm going into heart surgery. So there's another ending. Okay. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey man, if I'm going to practice what I preach, I can't write about this and not go see my dad.
Yeah.
So I've always been curious on what he looks like, what he sounds like, but nothing in life stemmed action to actually want to make an effort to go see him. And then I was writing this book, and then my wife got pregnant. And I realized that I had my hands on her belly. And I looked at her and said, there's 3 words I've never said out loud to anybody. And she just goes, what's that? F you, a-hole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I've said that. But she goes, I go, I've never said I forgive you to anybody in my life. And I go, I think it's time I go see my dad. And she just went, whoa. So it was life coming full circle where I was writing my story, finding forgiveness. My wife got pregnant, and now there was all of a sudden a reason to go see him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hadn't seen him in like 28, 29 years. We sat for 5.5 hours. I had a show in Canada, and I was going to Vegas. So we just stopped where he was living at the time and sat with him 5.5 hours. And it was super, super intense. I didn't know what to expect, but I learned to redefine what the word forgiveness means to me. And I think a majority of people, forgiveness is about winning. It's about one-upping. It's about I'm right, you're wrong. And I was that guy probably for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that my daughter didn't ask to be here. And if I really want to be the greatest dad I can be, I got to give her everything I got. Do I have it? I don't think I got it. because I got a little cloud of bitterness and hate back here.
Holding it in.
Holding it in, man. And so I realized that forgiveness for me is not about the other person. I could care less what my dad thought. Interesting here. How about this? I didn't tell any of my family.
Mhm.
My grandparents were alive at the time. I didn't tell them. Didn't tell my aunt. Didn't tell any friends.
Do you think they would have tried to walk you, talk you out of that?
Yeah.
That was why?
I didn't know, but I knew this. I didn't care.
Right.
I didn't care if you supported it, and I didn't care if you didn't want me to do it. So why am I even going to talk to you about it? Like, I didn't care about their opinion. For once in my life, I didn't care about anybody else's opinion because I'm doing this for me.
Right.
Nobody else. My wife knew, and I got my buddy Tim knew. So for me, forgiveness, two people get this is a great analogy. Two people get married. They get divorced. One person's like, oh, I'm out, baby. Viva Las Vegas. Peace out, man. I ain't never looking back. Freedom, right?
Mhm.
The other person is bitter and angry for 10 or 20 years. That person that divorced me, that's the reason that I'm broke. That's the reason I'm miserable. That's the reason I'm depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me was that person.
Right.
So I was sitting here going, wait a minute. Somebody who's no longer in my life is affecting my life.
Right.
Dude, Nelson Mandela got released from prison. I read this quote, blew my mind. When I'm in prison, I'm a free man. I told all the inmates, if the guards don't hold our souls, we're free men. We'll build a wall. We'll do whatever we got to do. He got out of prison and became so bitter and resentful for the time he lost that he said he wasn't in prison till he was out. And he realized that a moment in time that was no longer in his life was affecting his life. And he needed to deal with that.
Yeah.
So here I got a guy in my life who's no longer in my life that's affecting my life. That's me. I'm losing, right? So for me to go forgive him was my first symbolic step of someone who is no longer in my life will no longer affect my life.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest thing I did. And let me tell you, everything you could think of, I wanted to punch him right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a time where I just wanted the world to disappear and I just wanted to have lunch with my dad.
Yeah.
I wanted to forget anything happened and I wanted just to tell him that I got a scholarship and like, hey, you're going to go to an NFL game. And like that, like there was a minute where I just wanted to just pretend.
Yeah. Like he was back to being your hero again when he was throwing you the ball when you were King Griffey.
And then
that's powerful.
That is powerful.
Yeah. And then that went away quick.
Yeah.
And then, but I went through everything you could imagine. And I think, when I got invited on this podcast, I think, and it's kind of the second act, the second part of life, it hit me why I'm really thankful I got to play 14 years in the league. I've been around the world's best at planning, process, discipline, accountability, teamwork, wanting to be a part of something, wanting to be a teammate. You guys been there. Everything that we were surrounded with. Shame on me if I don't take that with me in every aspect of my life.
Right.
Hardest adjustment getting out of the league for me was dealing with morons. Like, I hate to say it, but like mediocrity. Hey, 8 o'clock meeting, 8:10, 8:12. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Right. Because trained is the wrong word. We've been taught a great way to live life. And so I went in to see my dad like that. I went in with a game plan. I wrote it out. Forgiveness is for me. Clear my heart, my soul. Don't hate, don't blame, forgive. And I said, no matter what happens, whatever emotion I have, it's not greater than this. So just stick with it.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was hard. And I'm very thankful because I did something that a lot of people would not have done.
No, that's tough. I guess my follow-up question is that, do you still keep in contact with your dad today?
Yeah. So we took a selfie, or I took a picture with him. I wanted it for me. And my wife, and this is funny. Talk about being present in yourself. When we took a picture, I literally almost put my arm around him and smiled and did the Suki. Yeah. Because when fans come up to you, you get in picture mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I literally stopped and I was like, that's weird. And I'm like, just how do you feel? And I just put my arms down and I just like, I stood at the camera and my face is saying, holy
yeah,
I just had lunch with my dad. And my wife saw the picture and she's like, I've known you for 10 years. I've seen pictures from you your whole life. This is the only picture I've ever seen where you're not smiling. It's the only picture I have not smiling. And so he wanted to go on a bike ride through the mountains and stuff. And I'm like, hey man, I'm cool. I never wanted it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I would feel after.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the book's closed. I realized I wasn't there to continue a relationship. I wasn't needing his approval. I wasn't needing his opinion. I wasn't needing anything from him. But I often ask myself if for whatever reason I'm in a situation where my kid disowns me for whatever reason, what would it mean to me if my kid came and saw me?
Yeah.
And how would I act, and what would I say, and all this is happening after, right? So, yeah, no contact, don't want it. He reached out once, and then he's kind of respected my
Yeah,
boundaries
Space,
and,
privacy.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he was shocked. I'll tell you that. I don't think he was expecting.
You to stop by.
Yeah,
I don't think no.
I don't think he was expecting me to say I forgive you.
What is it about magic? Clearly, you're an amazing magician. You've been on America's Got Talent. You've done all types of shows. You do shows at the Pro Bowl. Like everyone knows you about this magic, right? What is it about magic that helped you cope with losing your mom?
And one other question. Did Sean Payton tell you that he probably wanted to bring you in because of
Yes, that
He
is
did.
true.
Yeah,
This is true.
I've seen him draft guys late, and he was like, dude, I saw him on YouTube. He had this video. I want to get him in.
Yeah.
So he did admit that.
He actually goes, look, man, Banta wanted you as a snapper. We need to fill that position. I loved it. You're good enough to play, but the real reason is we need some tricks before team meetings. Okay, look, I want the Magic Man in this locker room. And I was like,
Magic Man.
boom. Now you see me, now you don't, baby. Let's go. So I was 12 years old in this transition, and I saw a kid do a trick. His name was Michael Groves, and I loved it. But then when I moved down to Southern California, there was a TV show called World's Greatest Magic, and this guy Bill Malone was on there.
Mhm.
He did a card trick, and he was shuffling, telling a story, and I was enamored. Now, for me in my life, I wish I saw Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Clapton or some guitar player, and I picked up a guitar and I could just shred right now.
Yeah.
But I saw a card guy, and so I picked up a deck of cards. There's a magician in Orange County named Ken Sands who became a mentor. And excuse me, for me, anytime I shuffled, the sound of the riffle, the world quieted. It is the only thing that I can just disappear in and not think about losing my parents, foster home, moving, new school, friends, like all these adult issues that I was dealing with. I would sit at a table and hear the sound of a riffle, and I was just a kid. And so you do that for 30 years, you get pretty good. And I didn't really get into magic necessarily to be like this big magician. It was an escape, and it was my out. And in fact, I remember I went a couple years, I didn't do tricks for any of my friends.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we were like some party, and there's cards, and somebody did like a 3 rows of 7 self-working card trick, And I was like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, oh, do you know any tricks? I'm like, yeah, I could do some. Imagine that you didn't know your boy at 14 plays the guitar, and he just starts ripping Hendrix solos, like just ripping it, like, right? So I studied the world's best when I was young, and I learned their stuff, and then I started improving, and then I knew I would screw up because that's just me. I'm going to screw up. So I learned 5 moves that would get me in and out of any situation that could make any trick be better. You think of a card, I get it wrong. Oh, no. I just got to learn how to maybe get a folded card from a deck that you don't see me do and put it in my tennis shoe. And now your thought of card has been in my shoe the whole time. That's why I couldn't find it. Better trick.
Yeah.
So you just got to learn these moves to improv, right? So for me, magic was an escape.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden I started doing these tricks, and I just remember the room was dead silent. Like parents were there, and everybody was just like dead silent because they were like, whoa,
This kid's doing magic.
you take this very seriously. Wow. I even have a bit. So, now it's cool because there's a trick called Sam the Bellhop in the 654 Club. It's the one Bill Malone did on TV.
Mhm.
And you take a new deck of cards and you shuffle and you tell this story with the cards. And I dreamed of being in like a room in a theater and like audiences like chuckling at this story. And, I signed a deal with Tony Robbins. So we do arenas, and I open with Sam the Bellhop, and I sit at a table with 20,000 people. There's a halo light on the table. And I love the fact that I can have 20,000 people go from just laughing to like silence to like chuckling to like laughing. And it's such a cool moment.
Yeah.
And then the moment comes full circle in the show later, but manifest it, man. We talked about that earlier, right? Man, I dreamed of that moment. And
you got your dog in the
Got it.
shows now?
yeah, man, Saint the dog. So I never wanted to be like the magic guy, right? I don't want to go on stage and do an hour of magic. Like, that's lame. And everything I love about magic is like, I don't want to be it. And so my show is my life story and the magic I learned along the way. And so whether I'm speaking or whether I'm doing theater stuff, that's what you get. It's my life story and the magic I learned along the way. So depending on what story I tell, I got different tricks to back up those points and those stories. So we got a dog after my heart surgery, and then we make him appear like Siegfried and Roy does the tigers. It's so cool, man.
At least you know the tiger ain't gonna maul you to death.
That's
for
true.
anything
I mean, a
like that,
golden
so-
doodle, golden doodle mauled me.
Golden
I probably
doodle.
deserved it. You know what I mean?
I'm a
I don't know how you don't fight him off.
I'm gonna clap you up on that, and
Yeah.
thank you for getting a dog and not a big ass cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, What was your first magic trick that you like mastered?
Ooh,
Was it the thumb? You know, you break the thing, the thumb, you go like
that's
that.
that's pretty good. Oh, well, there's this one too. You just grab it. That's good. You know what it was, and I wish I had it here because I'd do it, but I don't. You take a little red sponge ball,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
put
yeah,
it in
yeah,
your
you
hand, and
like
you go like this, and then mine disappears, and you open yours, and there's
right.
2. Then you open your hand, and there's like 50, and then you open your
Yeah,
hand,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yes.
that was probably the first one where I would do it to somebody,
Mhm.
Right.
But cards were always my forte, man. Cards were always my where I would want to go, and then I started to learn how to track cards, which means I can shuffle and keep track of certain cards. So if you want a card to be at 23rd, we'll count down; it'll be there. And then all of a sudden, you do 4 cards for like poker, and then maybe 8, and then and then maybe a full deck and story. So shuffling is where I get my most. That's what I really enjoy.
You like
But they
you
didn't
like-
have Google back then, so how are you?
No, man.
Is it just were you like literally reading it
Yeah, and you
in,
ready
in
for
a
this?
book?
Yeah, this
Or
is
was it, like,
awful.
VHS.
VHS. Okay. And I remember there was one trick on TV, and I would play, pause, record. And, I had a little Zenith television in my room. And I
Yeah.
recorded this TV special. And I remember I watched it. This thing would be on loop in my bedroom. And I watched it and watched it. And I walked by, and out of the corner of my eye, 2 years later after watching this trick, I walked by, and out of the corner of my eye, I turned. I was like, no. And I hit pause, and I'm like, that's the move. Oh my gosh. So sometimes you just have to watch it over and over and over.
before you
and
see
over
it.
Before you see it. So my reading comprehension is not very good, and I'm left-handed. Okay, so all magic books are written for righties.
Right.
So I would get a magic book, which is already complex. I mean, think about take your left thumb, rotate 80 degrees, pick up deck, forefinger and middle finger, grab alternating quarters, reverse spin. And I'm just like, and you're trying to visualize this.
Right.
I would go through a book, and I'd have to cross out all the rights and put an L, and then cross out all the L's and put an R, and do everything backwards. Okay, and then all of a sudden you start learning this trick and you think it's amazing, and then you realize that the trick doesn't work if you're a lefty after you just spent 6 months trying to figure this out, working writing because the way the pips are on the cards, and then you can't see the card. And I'm like, oh well. So you live and you learn, you know what I mean? So
are you ambidextrous now with the card tricks that you do?
no, I'm a lefty magician,
Okay.
but I could play catch with you either way, and you wouldn't tell a difference. Like I could play catch with you right or left-handed.
Okay.
Like when I would warm Vic up before the game, I'd go out there like a lefty, no big deal. Donovan, I'd be a righty, no big deal.
Okay, so tell me, what was it like? Was it at this party? What was the first like? Tell me that feeling when you got the first like great response from a crowd or a group of people.
It was
when you doing magic.
It was my first love. That was my first love.
Like it hit you right there.
A friend of mine, Steve Carlson's a musician, and
And I also want to know, when did you let the locker room know? Because not everybody comes in like, all right, dude.
so Bledsoe, you ready for this? So I signed with Buffalo, and I'm a big Bledsoe fan because I was in Seattle. He was at Washington State,
Yes.
and I didn't watch a lot of football, but you knew Drew Bledsoe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. $100 million dude. You hear about this guy? You know what
Yes.
I mean? And so when we signed with the Bills, he actually came up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, I know your story. I remember your dad's trial because I was in college."
Oh wow.
And he goes, "I got you." So I'm gonna say this right now. He was a hero of mine. Took care of me. Watched after me, and to this day, he'll hit me up. You good, kid? To this day,
Awesome.
I love him. He's my favorite superstar of all time. So Drew, you're the man. He comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, how good are you?" I'm like, "I'm pretty decent." "Hey, can you if I tell you to deal some poker hands, can you deal them?" Can I deal 'em? Of course I can. He goes, "Let's go." So I remember we got around a room, and I was just dealing, and we were tracking the money and who was playing what, and I just made sure everybody just lost their ass off. I mean, it was just like not even, and Drew's just racking it, right? Just racking it. And then we gave all the money back to everybody after they knew who I was. But man, that was like 20 minutes of just seeing dudes get so frustrated. Like, what? Like, I mean, imagine having a full house, but then he's got
Hell
a full
yeah.
house that beat you by one. You're like,
Yeah.
what? And then he's got one. You're like, what? You know what I mean? Oh, it was funny, man. For me, magic has been, it's not the end all, right?
Yes.
So like you go see a show in Vegas and there's magicians, the illusion is
Right.
the end all be all.
Yes.
So they're chasing a ghost. But then what you find for me is that I don't have a connection to the trick, right? It's cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the magic's never been the end all be all. Instead, it's my story behind it
Yes.
that makes the point of the trick, which makes it relevant, emotional, what makes people connect to it. Now they care about it. So even when I was doing tricks, trick was never the first thing. The first thing was the connection that we're going to have right here in this room.
Right.
I'm going to make sure we have a good time. I'm going to make sure you see something you've never seen before. But at the end of the day, I want to make this something that you'll never forget.
Right.
When that's your first, then the trick is second. Man, powerful. So for me, even when I was doing the tricks in the locker room, it wasn't about me trying to impress you with my skill. It was about me just trying to share a moment with you so we could be friends.
Yes.
It was my icebreaker. And what happened over time is all of a sudden, all the big timers, right? They have their events. Dorenbos, what you doing? Okay, I signed with the Buffalo Bills. I'm leaving UTEP. I roll into Buffalo, New York. Okay, now Southern California, Texas, Buffalo. Man, that's a hard place to play, bro. When you're a snapper who's not even that good, that weather. Doesn't matter. Day one, check into the hotel for the OTAs or whatever. And what happens is the phone in the hotel rings. Oh, hold on. I'm caught. Sorry. What happens? The phone in the hotel ring. Hey, John. Yeah. Hey, Jim Kelly. I'm sorry. Who? This is Jim Kelly. Hey, coach approved it. I'm going to pick you up in the morning. Will you do my golf tournament? You can do some magic for all my friends. I'm like, yeah. Let me check my schedule. Yeah, pretty much free. Limo rolls up. Okay.
Was this rookie year?
Rookie year. My first 24 hours leaving college into an NFL environment. My first 18 hours. You ready for this? Limo rolls up. Jim Kelly gets out. Okay. That's really Jim. Is that Joe Montana? Is that Darryl Talley? Bruce Smith? Thurman Thomas? Drew Bledsoe? John Elway? What? Dan Marino? What? All these guys. I literally got in there. I was like, hey, Joe, my name's John. Dude, I was you in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Like literally, you know, my buddy Jacob, he was Rice. I was Montana. And at recess, we destroyed people, bro. Like this is insane. So yeah, my first 18 hours, I got to meet all these guys. But it was the magic. That was the icebreaker that really got me in all these doors, right? Because now you're in the VIP with Bon Jovi, the Flats when I was in Tennessee, all these country guys. You know, now you're a football player, but now you're entertaining the VIPs in the VIP room.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, 2 marketing things that I think were brilliant. If any other athletes are listening to this is brilliant right here. 1, differentiate yourself in the group so that when you're invited, you're not just the athlete, but then you can do something else. But here's number 2, and you guys can vouch for this. I'm going to say 99% of big timers, their signature is awful. Awful. Okay. Very few. Griffey, beautiful, right? Beautiful signature. Randy Johnson, Jay Buhner, beautiful. So I'd see, and I love Donovan McNabb, but not the neatest handwriting, right? But I'm like, Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy. That's the name on the ball that's getting displayed. So I worked on my signature, man. It is beautiful. And I always signed it right underneath that big timer. So now what happens is that big timer name displayed in the case on the shelf,
Right.
and your eye can't help but go to that nice little penmanship down there. Boom, household name, Jon Dorenbos. Let's go.
I like that. I like that. What I really want to know now is after you get traded in 2017, you go to the Saints, and then obviously your football career it's no more because you had to have this heart surgery, and then you get invited. The Eagles, they go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How special was it for you to receive a ring and watching it there in the owner's box and everything like that? How special was that?
There's a story behind this that goes way more than just being special.
Yeah.
All right. So I signed with the Eagles. I do a training camp, and then the next year I get shingles before training camp, all in my face.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be in the sun. So what happens? It's like 08, let's call it 08, 09. So I would run out we were in Lehigh, Pennsylvania, 105 degrees. I'd run out, snap field goals, snap punts, whatever. And then I'd have to go into the training room or the equipment room and get out of the sun. Well, that thing's air conditioned, bro. So this is amazing. So what happens? Next year rolls around. I'm on the field going, I mean, they didn't really know if I was here last year. Like they didn't really miss me last year when I snuck out into that equipment room. I'm just going to see if I can hold that schedule for the rest of my career. So they'd be practicing, and I would just start backing up because I'd have like an hour and a half of doing nothing. And I'd just kind of disappear. And then I'd find my way in the equipment room, take my pads off, air conditioning, donuts. I'm just chilling for like an hour and a half, bro, while everybody's at training camp grinding, right? Well, what happens is Jeff Lurie walks in. He's the owner. Yeah. I ain't got a lot of one-on-one time with him at the time. So he walks in, I jump out of my seat, and I start opening drawers because I'm looking for a buckle. My buckle fell off my my shoulder pads, Jeff. I'm just looking for one. You know, I didn't want to
John
bother
is by
Greg.
far the biggest bull.
Hey,
like all these, you are just like the all-time biggest bull.
Hey, this gets better, bro. This gets better. God. So I jump up. Now I'm opening drawers. Like, I'm just looking, Jeff. I'm just, handle my own business. I got time. And Lurie goes, oh, that's funny. I just come in here because it's air conditioned. And dude, like a movie, I just pushed the drawer in and I just real slow. And I stood up and I go, no kidding. Me too. Have a seat. So now Jeff and I are chilling in the equipment room. Right. And that was like, I couldn't tell you how many times Jeff and I sat in that equipment room for about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Air conditioning and talked about everything other than football.
Just shooting
it, right? So I remember one conversation. He's like, hey, man, how do you ever want to get into coaching? I was like, nope. No, that looks miserable to me, man. But I love coaches, but that looks miserable to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I could see that. And I go, so Jeff, we got to win a Super Bowl while I'm a player, because if I don't get one as a player, I'm never going to get one as a coach. And I don't want to work in a front office. So let's just get this ball moving if we could to get me a ring. So we laugh. Man, 10 years goes by, okay? And now all of a sudden I get traded. I get traded, and I don't watch a game for that whole season because I'm on meds. I'm just staring at a wall. First game I watched was the NFC Championship, and the Eagles win. They're going to the Super Bowl. So here's the deal. I signed with the Eagles. I play every game for 12 years, most consecutive games in Eagles history. They trade me, and then they go to the Super Bowl. So I'm like, F that, right? No way. Come on. So all of a sudden I get a phone call. Hey, John, if we win, you're getting a ring, and we're inviting you and all this. And they actually called me at the beginning of the season. Yeah, whatever. Well, now it's happening. So the night before the game, Jeff says, would you attend this dinner with my friends? I'm like, yeah, I got nothing going on. Yeah, let's go. And so he goes, oh, my friend is going to take stage and sing. Her name's Sheryl Crow. I'm like, okay, this is already cool. I'm in. So dinner leaves. It's over. And I'm still out of heart surgery. I still, I'm a little crowd phobia. I don't want to be bumped into. You're still a little sore. So we waited till everybody left this dinner. And then Jeff walks up, picks his head up. He sees me. He goes, John, man, just want to tell you something. We're going to win this. And when we win, you're going to get a player's ring. It's going to be for the 12 years you put in helping change a culture. And hey, by the way, kid, you're not playing, you're not coaching, but you might just find your way into a ring. And I was like, this dude remembers a conversation we had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they win, and a couple months goes by, whatever, when you get the ring, and they gave it to me, and that's what he said, man. So that ring means more to me now than had I played for multiple reasons. One, a reflection on who you were for 12 years in a building.
And it matters.
It matters.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't have to do that.
No.
That's big.
And the other thing too is there's a lot of big Eagles fans in entertainment. And so I'll take a meeting with some director or whatever, and I just, oh, you're an Eagles fan? Yeah, so-and-so told me, hey, here's the ring. Hey, but what? Hey, just do me a favor, wear it around. Just, I'll get it from you in a few months. And this dude, but two things are happening, right? This dude's not taking that off for however long he got it.
No.
Bragging to all his friends, and all of a sudden, Dorenbos name a conversation in the meetings. You know what I'm saying? Come on, household name. Let's go.
Come on, household name.
And just solidified a new meeting because I got to go get my ring. So I just got my second meeting with this guy. He don't even know.
Household name.
I like it.
So,
all right, Jon Dorenbos, household name. Who we like to ask a lot of our guests this. Mount Rushmore of influence.
I was just there, man. Amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's way bigger than what you think, too. It's like high up there. It's big.
It's pretty cool.
Yes. If you could have a Mount Rushmore of influence, people that have influenced you in your life, on, off the field, all together, you got 4. Who's in that top 4?
Man, I got 4?
Yeah.
Now it's yours, so you can we'll let you remix it a little bit. Just in case you want to put Crazy Bone on there somewhere.
Well, like there's a lot, but these are 4 that come to mind. I'm gonna say Griffey, but it's gonna represent a lot of people. When I was a kid, I was a Griffey fan. He was my hero. But when I lost my parents, the community donated tickets to the Mariners game, and my 6th grade school teacher would drive me to games, and I would sit in section 305 of the Kingdom, and I had a sign that said, "I love you, Griffey," and I had a glove. And every game was the game Griffey was going to look up and be like, oh my gosh, no, are you kidding me? Is Dorenbos here? Seriously, Buhner, tuck that jersey in. Put your A game on, like he was going to call me to warm him up.
Yeah.
All right. In that time, those guys went from heroes to hope. Those guys changed from being my heroes to me hoping for a better life. And it was the Mariners. It was every one of them. When I became a pro in 2003, I ran out of the tunnel. And all of a sudden I ran, and there was a guy that said, we had a sign that said Bledsoe. And right next to him was this little kid, and it was me. And I say Griffey representing this time frame because he gave me the greatest thing of my career, and that is I didn't need pregame. My first game, I walked over to this kid. I said, hey, kid, I got a huge problem. And the kid looked at me and goes, you're the Magic Man. What problem can you have? And I was like, no, this is a serious problem, kid, and you're the only one that can help me out. He goes, what's that? Look, I don't want to be the one to say this, but I don't think anybody's good enough here to warm me up. You think you can help me out? What? And so every game I played in, man, I brought a kid, and I played catch with a kid for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And that was my moment. I stole that moment from me. And that was me being everything I wish I had to somebody else, right? It's me being this much better than where I come from. Parents would take pictures. And what's really cool is I told this story on a news thing, and then my friend said, Google it. And at the time, all these parents were posting pictures of me in all these different stadiums playing catch with their kids saying, thank you. I will say that Griffey is one because it represents a time of going from heroes to hope, and then ended up I could be something full circle in life for other kids. My mom, I would say for sure. She's who I look up to. She's who I talk to. I believe that my opinion of death has changed too, to be able to cope with it. And that is every relationship is like a wave, and we're all surfers in the ocean, and so every wave is going to crash, 100%. Now you might ride it a long time, you might not, but what you got to do when that wave crashes is you got to get up and you got to paddle out and catch another one, and enjoy the wave while you got it. And what I've learned is that's with other people. That idea right there has allowed me to be able to have closure with people and relationships and situations, set boundaries for myself, my family, with other people. But it also helps me reevaluate the relationship with myself. That parts of me can crash, and that's okay. And I can paddle out and rediscover who I am on a different wave. So I believe my mom is in the wind and the rain and the ocean, and she's the bird singing. So I would say her. Then I'm gonna go with there was a financial service speaker named Kevin Elko who came up to me when I was with the with the Bills, and he goes, "Hey, you're the magic guy, right?" Hey, yeah. You know that little trick you do with the $100 bill and the pencil thing, you know? And I go, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, whatever. Will you just tell how you got into college, which is a whole different story, by the way. Tell the story how you got into college and then do that trick for all these bankers. And I was like, cool. So he's the first one that got me into the speaking business. And so I did it, crushed it. And he goes, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of advice, kid. One, don't ever book yourself as a magician ever again. You're a speaker. My second advice to you is don't ever take any other advice from any other speaker besides the advice I just gave you. That's the only advice you need to take. So, okay, good. And he took me around to this day. And that's opened a door of really taking my love of magic and making a difference with it and being proud of a performance that I do. Tie in my life story and the magic I learned along the way. So I would say Kevin has been a big influence on me as a person. And then I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with my wife. Man, my wife's a rock star.
Great call.
Man, I'm going to go with my wife. One, she is a stone cold fox. Like I'm talking, she is banging, bro. And she is 10 times hotter on the inside than she is the outside. Like she is the most warm-hearted, beautiful human being. I've observed that when she walks in a room, chicks want to hate her because she's hot, but then they love her because she's so nice.
Yeah.
She's so amazing. And she's a breeder, 6-footer. You know what I mean? So I got myself a little mini me. She's our kid was 9'2". But my wife has definitely been, we met a little bit later in life, and I was married before. That was a waste of time. And I married somebody that doesn't matter, but what I learned from my first marriage, I was proud of the husband I was, but what I learned from my first marriage is everything I'm not giving up about myself ever again. I will not change this part of me. You don't like it? I don't care who you are. I don't think we're meant to roll. We can be friends. It's all good. But like, if you want to change this about me, we're good. And everything that I think my ex wanted to change is what she loved. Everything that made me, like I've changed at all. I haven't changed at all for her, except in the good. And my in-laws, awesome, dude. If we get a little tough, my in-laws take my side every time. I'm like, good call. You guys just bought yourself 2 more nights at Casa de Dorenbos. You know what I mean? My in-laws are cool, man. I love my father-in-law, my mother-in-law. So my last one is my wife. That was probably a very long answer.
No,
but I would say,
great answer.
You want to know something? Can I tell you a funny story? Do we got time here?
Yeah.
This is a funny story. So hero's Griffey. Okay. And this is hardcore. So I'm going to learn how to fly plane because I can fly myself to gigs. Let's do this. So I'm researching. He flies. I'm like, oh my gosh. This
King
is
Griffey?
Yeah. Him and his dad are both pilots. So I'm like, this is going to be my end because he flies the plane I want to fly. So I go to dinner with Jamie Moyer that night in Philly. They're friends. I bring it up. I was like, dude, I got so many questions. Griffey flies like he's a pilot. Oh, Griffey loves flying. Like, yeah, I'll have him reach out to you. I'm like, cool. Taking mine. I haven't done it. It's the day I decided I want to learn how to fly. So I have no knowledge of flying. I don't know anything about flying. Okay, but I'm going to learn. I'm driving home. I get home. I get to my condo. My phone rings. Hey, is this John? Yeah. Hey, man, it's Junior. What? Oh, yeah, it's Junior, man. I got your number from Moyer. He said you're getting into flying, man. He said you got questions like, hey, man, welcome to the club. How can I help? My whole childhood came back. Okay, now at the time I made a couple Pro Bowls. You might think I'm one of them. I could not have had a bigger choke and embarrassing moment in my life to this day. It is awful. So I start sweating, heart starts racing, and it's because I was a 12-year-old kid.
You went back to section 305,
and I did. And I'm thinking he's gonna, like, in my mind he's gonna call me to play catch. I'm like, all right. So this is what he says. Hey man, how can I help you? And I go, okay, yeah, I got a question. So like, how long would a flight B. And I'll never forget, he goes, well, usually it's from the time I take off to the time I land. And I was like, right, totally. So how long do you usually sit in your plane?
Two terrible questions.
Bro,
The worst.
hey, this is what he says. He goes, usually from the time I sit down to the time I stand up. And I go, totally. That's about all the questions I got for you. And I basically hung up on him. And I just freaked out, right? He, just to let you know, he has not returned my text since then. And I promise I'm way cooler than that. But my whole life, my parents, just a lot of childhood stuff, just instead of just being like, yo, man, you're the man, dude. Let me dive into this and I'm gonna hit you back. But like, love watching you play. And you were my hero, bro. So thank you for calling me. I went the complete opposite direction. Didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say. And if I run into him, I've never met him in person, but I'm going to run into him and he's probably going to come up to me and be like, yo, you haven't killed yourself yet? Hey, man, this guy's still alive. This guy's an idiot. You know? So, yeah, that's that. But there you go.
Hey, man, that's the show. I thank you. I can't thank you enough for coming to the show, blessing us with your story and just yeah, man, rapping with us.
I want to say one more thing because I think this show, it's really cool that it's at least for me, kind of showing athletes in their second part of their career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if there's any advice I can give those young athletes or people that are watching this, it's don't identify yourself as one thing. I'll never forget my grandpa. He's like, hey, man, just be who you are, love what you do. And one day you might be able to sit your grandkid on your knee and tell them all the crazy stories. There's a movie called Big Fish.
Yeah.
And the dad's dying. And his kid's trying to have this relationship with him. And the dad's telling these crazy stories of the two-headed woman and the monsters and the giants. And the kid thought he was full of it. And then at the funeral, the two-headed woman shows up and the giant. So life is romantic, is beautiful. Make these stories as crazy as you can. Write a script in your head that's absolutely outrageous and funny because who knows, it might just come true. But I never wanted to be identified as a football player. I just wanted to be identified as a guy that just shows up, has fun, gives it everything I got, make as many friends as I can so that one day when my time is done, hopefully my teammates will be like, hey, man, that's a dude that you'd hate to lose and every opponent feared, man.
Yeah.
You're going to win in life more than you're going to do that. So take everything you have, especially as an athlete, and build on it. And when you're done playing, don't be sad that you're done. Don't have a loss of identity crisis. Realize that you got such a head start on the mental preparation that you have in life. Find your passion and apply everything you've learned in life to that. And man, go rock it. Show the world what you got.
There it is. That's why you're a speaker and not a magician.
That's it, baby.
I like that.
That right.
Hey, stay ready.
You ain't got to get ready.
You never got to get ready.
That's it.
I like it.
All right, Peanut.
This is you.
Oh, well, shoot, it is me then. All right, well, look, man, for all of our viewers, Jon, thank you once again, man. You showed out today, man. For all of our viewers, listeners out there, give us a 5-star rating. Hit that follow button. Give us a review. Leave a comment wherever you could listen to or hear or view your podcast at, whether it's Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Thanks, guys, for always tuning in. This is my man, Peanut Tillman, Jon Dorenbos, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts Podcast.
Thank y'all for tuning in. We out. Peace.